What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy the Hater, and it's Thursday night, which means you get a late video. That's how it is, and that's how it's gonna be. The Hater's going to Dallas, Texas tomorrow for a wedding. My first time in Texas. I look forward to it. The Hater feels like a Texan in spirit, and always has, to be honest. So let's see how this goes, and let's see if I love Texas. Anyone from the Dallas area that wants to recommend some spots, specifically Texas barbecue, the Hater will be all ears. Cuckstis. And with that being said, let's get to today's video. It's about Night of Champions, which is coming up this weekend. I will be watching this, even though it's the wedding weekend, because quite frankly, for the first time in a long time, I actually want to watch a WWE PLE. I think it's safe to say that if you're anyone with a pulse, you realize at this point that Saudi Arabia clearly gets all the good pay-per-views. At this point, I think I'm more excited for this than I am for WrestleMania, and definitely for other bullshit like fucking, like SummerSlam. I just noticed, because Netflix is on the background, that Squid Games comes out as well. So maybe I'll talk about that, because I gotta watch that shit at some point up in this bitch. Maybe I'll watch it like on the airplane. That's actually a great idea, you know what I mean? Anyways, it is what it is. We will deal with that later, cucks. Now, let's do a preview of Night of Champions and explain why it's awesome. First of all, there's 6 matches. Count them, motherfucks. 6 matches. Now, we're used to having 4 matches with things like Elimination Chamber and other bullshit, you know what I mean? At this point, SummerSlam will probably be about 8 matches, 2 nights, 4 matches each. Things are not going in the right direction. Cucks this. So with that being said, a pay-per-view with 6 matches is a big deal. In addition, right, the only thing that I think would have made this really like a big-time pay-per-view that's missing is the Gunther Goldberg match, right? But I guess Goldberg wants to retire in Atlanta. You know, they're not going to give us everything we want in one night. But we've got some pretty interesting matches, and for the first time in a long time, motherfucks, basically every match, except for 1 or 2, have something going for them. Number 1, we've got Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Obviously, this is the match that nobody cares about. I don't care about Sami Zayn, and I sure as shit don't care about Karrion Kross. This is probably his first and likely last pay-per-view with this company. I could see Karrion Kross winning and finally getting a small push, but even if he does, I believe the push will lead to nothing. Obviously, the smart money is that Sami Zayn is going to destroy this jobber for a number of reasons. Number 1, Sami Zayn is a bigger deal than Karrion Kross. Number 2, Sami Zayn has better fans and bigger fans and more fans than Karrion Kross. And number 3, the most important factor is that Sami Zayn is an Arab, and they're in Saudi Arabia, so they always give Saudi Arabia something to enjoy, right? Like they'll have like Mansoor. They gave this guy a job just so he could go to Saudi Arabia and beat like Claudio Castagnoli and fucking Dolph Ziggler, you know, shit like that, right? Sorry, Cesaro. I'm gonna always call him Cesaro up in this bitch. Next up, we have what should be a throwaway match, but that is elevated into a big deal. Raquel Rodriguez versus Ria Ripley. This is kind of weird because Raquel Rodriguez, for better or for worse, is the lackey of Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is injured, so maybe this would have been Liv versus Rhea again. Nevertheless, this is a big deal to some because Rhea Ripley is a big deal. And as a result, when Rhea Ripley wrestles, people tend to care. I don't know if the Saudis will care. I hope not, but there you have it. Next up, we've got Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa. Now, this is a match that while I don't care about either of these wrestlers, I recognize that this match is a big deal. This is the culmination of a feud, right? Simple as that. Because it's the culmination of a feud, it's going to get some props. I think that, I personally believe that somehow Solo Sikoa is going to pull it out. Maybe that big guy from wherever the fuck, like whatever, Hikuleo, maybe he's going to debut. I feel like Solo Sikoa deserves the mid-card title way more than Jacob Fatu, who quite frankly is just, I don't see the big deal in him at all, right? Jacob Fatu will then slide into an LA Knight role. He might get like a small push here and there, but I don't see him as like a big deal in any capacity. So there you have it. But the match is also good, just like the other matches are also good, because you don't really know who's going to win, right? This one could really go either way, and that's what makes wrestling amazing. When the match could go either way and you don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose, and more importantly, you don't know the finish, right? For example, if you watch a soccer match, a soccer game, whatever the fuck you want to call it, depending on where you're from, a football match, right? You can only get 3 outcomes, right? Win, loss, tie. Tie is boring. Nobody likes a tie. A win or a loss is a bigger deal, but that's pretty much all you get. Whereas in wrestling, there are infinite permutations. Number one, Jacob Fatu could win. Sikoa could win. But it could be a DQ. But more importantly, the question is how they're going to win and what, if any, implications will this match have? Again, I'm not trying to blow smoke up this match's ass because it's not this big match by any means. But nevertheless, it is a big deal in the context of Jacob Fatu and Sikoa. This is the biggest and most important match of Jacob Fatu's career. It's bigger than the WrestleMania US title match that nobody cared about. This is a much bigger deal than that. And as a result, I think we got to give it some props for that reason alone. And arguably, this is one of the biggest matches for Sikoa. It could be his first title win. And that would be kind of nice because Sikoa last year pretty much carried SmackDown. So there you have it. Same thing with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. It's definitely possible that Raquel wins with interference by Roxanne Perez. Obviously the more likely scenario is Rhea Ripley wins, but you never know, right? It's a match that if you like these wrestlers, you're going to be entertained by this because you don't know the outcome off the bat like you would for other matches. We got Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. I think Sami Zayn is probably going to win, but it wouldn't be a complete shock if Karrion Kross won either, considering they're both jobbers. Now let's move on to the three more important matches. First and least important of these three is Asuka versus Cargill, right? Number one, I've already talked about this match a little bit. This is the moment to either make or break Jade Cargill. If it's going to happen, she needs to win. If it's kind of like LA Knight with Money in the Bank, right? If he's going to happen, he needs to win the Money in the Bank. He didn't, so he's done, right? Now, on the other hand, Asuka is coming back from like a year off. So this is a big deal for her too. If you're an Asuka fan, you probably want her to win and you hope that she can. And I think that Asuka, having accomplished virtually everything there is to accomplish, I think she has accomplished everything in WWE. Like literally, I think she's accomplished everything that she can except for Queen of the Ring. And if she does this, she solidifies herself as arguably the GOAT, right? Now, personally, I don't think she is, but like in the eyes of current WWE, she could solidify herself as that. Jade Cargill is the new kid on the block. I mean, she's probably in her mid-30s, but nevertheless, she's new to the company. So I think either way, this could go well, right? In addition, Naomi has the Money in the Bank. So if Jade Cargill at SummerSlam wins the world title, right, the women's world title, then Naomi can cash in. And that right there opens up possibilities. This is another reason why this match is good. I can't believe it, but the booking so far actually makes sense. Then we've got the two main matches, both of which I'm actually looking forward to. Even Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. This is a similar situation to Asuka and Jade Cargill, right? Except there's no new kid on the block, but Cody Rhodes is in that Asuka role. He's trying to reestablish himself, and Randy Orton is a legend, so it's a little bit different, but the philosophy is the same. Will Randy Orton elevate himself to the main event once more and have a final match with Cena? Just the prospect of that is massive, right? Because this is one of the biggest rivalries in WWE history. So another match in that rivalry, especially one where Orton might win, because at SummerSlam, Cena might drop it. You know what I mean? That is kind of a big deal. So I'd like to see how that goes. Likewise, if Cody wins, then we get the rematch. Cody versus Cena. Cody will have earned it, which is one of the prerequisites that I put on his ass after Mania. He will have earned it, and he will have a match with Cena. Likewise, Cody can beat Cena. The match is not like, for example, at first I thought it was going to be Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso just to give Sami Zayn his moment. But then there's no chance that Sami Zayn is beating Cena, right? And nobody really wants to see Sami Zayn versus Gunther, right? And if Goldberg wins, surely nobody wants to see Sami Zayn versus Goldberg. That would just be ridiculous. So I think this King of the Ring tournament for the men turned out pretty good, all things considered. I mean, it still is the Cuck of the Ring tournament because we had these fatal four-way dumbass matches that nobody could possibly care about. But nevertheless, we are where we are, and I think this is a good match. And obviously, we've got the main event, Cena versus Punk. At this point, Cena is only putting on relevant matches in pay-per-views, right? You're not going to see Cena versus AJ Styles, right? You're not going to see Cena versus Drew McIntyre. You know what I mean? You're going to see Cena versus big names like Orton, Rhodes, and CM Punk. Whether I like him or not, CM Punk is a big name, especially in the context of Cena and CM Punk, right? This is just a big deal on its own, on its face, right? And because it's a big name, there is always a chance that CM Punk comes out on top. Personally, I think Cena is a shoo-in, but would it be the biggest shocker of all time? Absolutely not. Versus, after last WrestleMania, right? 2 WrestleManias ago, I should say, when Cody Rhodes had matches with Carmelo Hayes, And Michael Cole's like laughing at how shitty and how much of a jobber Carmelo Hayes is. And they're saying he has like absolutely no chance in hell. Or even when he's wrestling AJ Styles and you know he doesn't have a chance in hell to beat Cody Rhodes, right? It's like, remember when Cena had a match against Mark Henry, right? It's like everybody loves Mark Henry. Everybody wanted Mark Henry to win, but we all knew that he had no chance, right? Or Cena wrestling Umaga, or Cena wrestling Great Khali. It's like, you know they have no chance. But Cena wrestling Shawn Michaels, that's a big deal. Shawn Michaels always is going to have a chance. Cena wrestling Kurt Angle, big deal. He's always going to have a chance. Same thing here. CM Punk is always going to have a chance against anybody, right? That's the one good thing about these upper mid-card jobbers that they present to us as main eventers. The philosophy is very simple. There's always going to be a possibility that any one of them can beat any other one of them, right? Like, but that's where the buck stops, right? It's pretty much these people that are in these two matches. Orton, Cucky, Cena, and CM Punk. And you can throw in, of course, like Roman Reigns, and maybe you can throw in like Gunther. And then after that, you're going to have to look at like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg and people of that caliber, because someone like Seth Rollins is not ending Cena's world title run, right? And if he does, it's going to be with a cash-in. And that brings me to Seth Rollins. He nor any of his jobber friends have a match. Chances are they won't even be there, given the fact that why the fuck would they travel to Saudi Arabia? But there's always a possibility, right? I know they have dark matches. They have things like that. So if Seth Rollins is there, that adds the last element. There is a possibility, obviously, that Seth Rollins will cash in. Likewise, it's possible, for example, that Goldberg beats, Gunther at Night of Champions, and Seth Rollins cashes in against Goldberg to kind of give him the send-off, right? A lot of things that are happening right now in terms of the booking are actually quite intelligent. I can't believe I'm saying this. The mid-card is in complete shambles. The tag team division may as well just get rebooted. Just have like a 10 tag team like battle royal to determine the new tag team champions, because Street Profits ain't getting it done, and neither are the New Day at this point, right? They're both boring. Nobody cares about them. So there you have it. Like, the booking overall is still garbage, but with respect to this pay-per-view, I think it's pretty good. And I personally think that that's a good thing for all of us. So, in summation, the hater is looking forward to this pay-per-view. The hater is looking forward to Texas and to watch this pay-per-view in Texas, if I can. I mean, they have Wi-Fi in Texas up in this bitch, you know what I'm saying? I'm bringing my tablet, I'm bringing my phone, obviously. So there you have it, you know what I mean? I'm going to be able to watch it. I'm going to maybe take some time to myself to go and enjoy this. It's going to be a good time. And as a result, you know, we find ourselves in the situation that we find ourselves in. And the fact of the matter is exactly what I just said. Finally, we get a good pay-per-view. I mean, again, the hater is going to review this, but it's looking to be a good pay-per-view. And in my personal opinion, that's like 50, 60% of the battle. Getting people excited for something is the first big step. Then, of course, you have to deliver. But given these matches, I don't see why this pay-per-view would not deliver. You know what I mean? I think the Saudis have very little patience for bullshit and all these thousands of ads. So I expect fewer ads, but I could be wrong about that. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's going to be a big event. It's going to be a big crowd. And perhaps most importantly, right, it's going to be an entertaining crowd. A crowd that actually chants for the good guy and boos the bad guy, which we don't see a lot of nowadays because the smarks have taken over in America. So personally, the hater always enjoys the Saudi shows. Not only are they better produced and they have better matches, but the crowd, in my opinion, is the best crowd that maybe has now. I mean, aside from like maybe like, you know, when they go to Puerto Rico or something, right? But, you know, generally speaking, they don't do that very often. So there you have it. With that being said, Cucks, take care of yourselves and go fuck your mothers.